Hey everyone, I hope you all are having a great finals week. Today I'm going to be presenting about college football playoff expansion. I know many of us here love watching OU football every fall, and each Saturday we get to enjoy the great privilege of watching college football. And college football is a very unique sport. It has a lot of passion and joy and energy. And what makes it really unique is that, before 2014, there wasn't a playoff system, but once the 2014 season started, it was the first ever college football playoff. And about the college football playoff structure, there are 4 teams which get to qualify in the playoff, and obviously there are 2 semifinal matchups, and the winner of those 2 semifinal matchups get to play in the national championship game. But the statistics about the college football playoff, it has not necessarily been the most inclusive at times. Only 12 teams have actually made the college football playoff, and only 5 different teams have won a national championship over the last 8 seasons. And just to speak about my credibility, I am a huge OU football fan and an avid watcher of college football. I spend a lot of time each weekend sitting down on the TV or at the stadium watching the college football games. And I know whenever I did a survey, and many of you completed it, it seemed like many of you were split about whether we should expand the playoff or not, because half of you said that we should keep it at 4 teams, and another half of you said that we should expand it. And I want to just tell you that my thesis is that playoff expansion would make the playoff more fun, it would make it more inclusive, and it would increase the revenue for our own athletic department. And this brings me to my first point, that think about how an expanded playoff could increase the revenue for OU athletics. In fact, according to College Factual, OU generated almost $95 million in total revenue just from football alone last season. And then think about this. In a USA Today article written by reporter Stephen Berkowitz, the average value of the college football playoff would increase from $600 million to over $2 billion. And think about, and that money would definitely come from the increase of viewers and TV contracts with all of the major sports companies. And that revenue would be added to OU athletics, which would be very beneficial, to our university, because especially if we actually get to make the expanded playoff, because not only would this help out our athletic department, it would help, increase the pay of the coaches. It would give OU athletics a chance to invest in practice facilities, and who knows, it could even provide important funds for the university in general. And I definitely believe that an increase of revenue would also be helpful to everyone. And that's why I think it's important that we make the college football playoff more fair for everyone. If many of you remember, back in 2017 and 2018, the UCF football team had 2 teams were back-to-back seasons where they went undefeated. However, in both 2017 and 2018, they didn't make the playoff. And that was very unfair for them, because compared to almost every other sport, any team that wins their conference gets an automatic bid to the playoff. And if we expand the college football playoff to accommodate for automatic bids, that would almost guarantee a mid-major team making the playoff every single season. And not only that, the college football playoff has not just been exclusive to the mid-major teams, it has been exclusive to us as OU fans. In fact, there have been notable OU teams which were left out of the college football playoff over the last 8 years. Both teams were really good, and to be exact, the year of those teams was 2016 and 2020. And when speaking about the 2016 football season, OU did get off to a little bit of a slow start. However, they managed to go undefeated in conference play, win the Big 12, have 2 Heisman Trophy finalists, and one of the top offenses in the country. However, they did not get a chance to compete in the college football playoff. Fast forward over to 2020, when OU did not have Ramondre Stevenson, their star running back, and Ronnie Perkins, a star defensive lineman. They ended up losing 2 games early on in the season. But once they got those 2 players back, they managed to finish the season undefeated, and they were playing at an extremely high level. And I think it's very likely that both of those teams would have done really well in the college football playoff. However, we need to realize that we will never be able to see how they would truly perform, because they never got the chance to do so. And from my experience, I think it would be very important, to have an expanded playoff to create more diversity in the playoff and make it more interesting with storylines which are fascinating for all college football fans. And in fact, remember how many of us get excited for March Madness every March? Well, the thing with March Madness is that it brings out a lot of excitement because there's a lot more unpredictability. And expanding the college football playoff, I think, would provide that similar excitement because it would provide, an enhancement to the postseason, and it would have more unpredictability with having more games. In fact, when I was checking out the college football playoff website, just about 75% of the playoff matchups have been decided by 17 points or more. And this really goes to show that the quality teams have been left out of the college football playoff. In fact, if I'm being honest with you, we have a statistical website called 5038, where a writer named Zach Wisner-Gross predicted that if you have a 12-team playoff, that there would be the best team included in the field 90% of the time. And I would believe that it would be very important for us to have the best team in the field guaranteed, because a 14 playoff has a much lower chance of including the best team. And think about the potential that college football could have with an expanded playoff. And you can do something to make some change, to tell the college football playoff executive committee that you want to see the playoff expanded. So I would recommend you email info@collegefootballplayoff.com, send a letter to 545 East John Carpenter Freeway Suite, 1025 Irvine, Texas, 75062, or call 469-262-5200 to share your voice. Your voice could influence the college football playoff, which could help bring in more revenue for our athletic department, increase the number of viewers, provide more opportunities, and really enhance our postseason and make college football a much better sport for everyone. And I hope you had an awesome time listening to my speech, and Boomer Sooner. So, my first question is, what's the most ideal number of teams to include in the college football playoff? In my personal opinion, I think it would be best to have a 12-team playoff. This way you can have the top 6 teams, which won their conference, automatically accepted into the college football playoff. And then you can have 6 at-large teams, who are 6 of the best teams which did not win their conference. And this could include, 4 teams getting a first-round bye week, and the other teams, still getting a chance at, competing for a national championship game. I really think a 12-team playoff would be very beneficial because it would increase the revenue, increase the number of viewers, and I think it could bring a lot of madness. In fact, the NFL playoff used to be at 12 teams before expanding to 14 teams just this season. So I think a 12-team playoff model would be very beneficial because it still incentivizes the importance of the regular season. However, it also is much more inclusive and much more fair to everyone, including the mid-major teams and every Power 5/major conference across the country. And then for my second question, do you think expanding the playoff would cause some teams not to try and perform at their best capability, knowing that they have a solid chance of making the playoff with the expansion? Well, first off, I don't see that happening because teams will want to play for higher seeding. Like, for example, if a team, it is almost guaranteed to make the playoff, they're going to want to compete at their very best to get a higher seed at the playoff because a team would rather have the top overall seed in a first round bye week instead of having to play, an extra week. And I really believe that coaches across the country like Nick Saban and Dabo Swinney would never want to see their teams unmotivated for a game, late in the season. So I don't think it incentivizes the regular season at all. In fact, I actually think it enhances it because, teams which may have struggled a little bit early, have a chance at really regrouping themselves, proving themselves, and winning their conference. And I really think that some of the teams that, struggle early on tend to get better. And I think we have to account for that as well, too. So I think we have to be careful when we make such judgments because I think teams are really unique throughout the season, and I really believe that expanding the playoff will accommodate to really incentivize the regular season. It will still ensure that every game matters, and that the teams which have the best record are the top overall seeds, and the teams which find a way, they still have a chance if they beat like the top tier teams like Alabama, Clemson, and Ohio State. So thank you so much for that question, and thank you so much to both my friends who chose to ask these questions to me, and it was a huge honor to answer them.